The Sims series is one that I've always loved. I've played almost every installment, and that includes The Sims 1. Over the past few months, I decided to revisit the game on stream for the first time in years, allowing me to relive some old memories and see how the game holds up in the modern age. This review is going to be about the complete collection, which contains all of the expansions, as that is the version I own. First, we're going to talk about the ambiance and the graphics. The Sims 1 has a very unique style to it. Its pixelated 2D to 3D effect still holds up nowadays in my opinion, and comes across very stylized. And each pack has design elements that allow you to create a completely different vibe. However, there are moments that the textures overlap, and it can create a muddy appearance, or you can't really tell what's going on from a distance. The music deserves a video of its own. It is so good. The build soundtrack is my favorite. The piano goes so incredibly hard. While talking about the sound design, the unfortunate elephant in the room is the weird alerting sound effects. I remember playing this as a kid and being terrified when a raccoon came on the property, and now I remember why. Even the pleasant things happening have some very loud and jarring sound effects that can be really distracting in my opinion. But overall, I still think the game looks and sounds decent, and more than decent in most cases. The gameplay. The gameplay features the typical Sims gameplay structure, where you create a family, move them in, and build a house. The difference between this game and the later installations is that the characters are not fully customizable. While some may see this as a huge drawback, I do think there is enough charm and variety in the choices to make it palatable. The neighborhood structure is quite simple, but different expansions add unique environments that you can explore. When actually building or playing a house, the UI can be overwhelming at first with lots of little buttons to click, but you get used to it over time. Everything is labeled and items often have detailed descriptions, so it isn't too bad. Build mode and buy mode are obviously a bit more simplified, with a lack of structural elements like basements and lack of furniture customizations. So basically what you see is what you get with furniture options. You also cannot put furniture on a slant, you can only put it in the 4 classic directions. Overall, there are enough variations of build and buy mode options to make it still fun to decorate. There is an added challenge to making different pieces match together and look good that's kind of fun and feels more realistic. The character interactions in this game were honestly my favorite part. I forgot just how bizarre the original game can be. The autonomy on the Sims themselves is really all over the place. While this makes the game a lot of fun, it also created some challenges, like for some reason my Sims refused to take turns in the bathroom, and they just endlessly interrupted each other's bathroom time to the point where all of my Sims just peed on the ground. I ended up having no choice but to build another bathroom, and even then it didn't always work. Another complaint I had is my Sims were very whiny. They almost never wanted to do things they were supposed to. They were always too tired, which is a mood. But anyway, stats went down pretty fast and it made it harder to get productive things done like going to work. Most of my Sims got fired at one point or another because they just did not want to go. That's your job! The Sims also have very little self-preservation. They do things like run up to fires and panic, even if you try to spam them to run away. I also had a Sim that essentially drowned themselves because they didn't get out of the pool before they ran out of energy. Another Sim that autonomously lit a rocket inside and burned himself alive. I didn't tell him to do that! Honestly, it was really funny, and I think some of that ridiculousness is kind of missing in the future games. Just don't get too attached to your characters. Speaking of ridiculousness, the relationship development in this game is interesting. I set out on a quest to get my Sims to have a baby. It took me a lot longer than I remember to develop the relationship enough for them to do this. Something I totally forgot was the actual process of the Sims having the baby, and well, it was magical. Something that is definitely a limitation in this game is the fact that babies do not grow up past the child stage. The generational gameplay was something that was introduced in The Sims 2 and was unfortunately something I really missed. If family-focused gameplay is what you enjoy most about The Sims, I could see this being a deal breaker. So the additional limitations. While The Sims 1 does have my favorite expansion of all time, Making Magic, there are some little things I wish it had, like seasons and holidays. But overall, I found enough content throughout throughout the expansions, and I never felt bored or lacking in things to do. The other limitation is technological. Playing The Sims 1 nowadays can be kind of tricky to figure out, as modern systems aren't really equipped to deal with the program. Final thoughts. Overall, my experience made me realize what I love about the series to begin with. This game is oozing with charm everywhere, and even if there aren't as many customization options or relationship and family development is a little lacking, it was still a really fun playthrough. The absurdity of Sims 1 is one of the things that made the series famous today, and the build mode and buy mode were so relaxing and fun. I ended up spending hours building a big house. Overall, I still think it's worth a play nowadays, even if it's just to trap a sim in a room and see what happens.